The men's 10,000 metres at the World Championships was billed as a clash of the titans of distance running, Ethiopia, and the emerging superpower of the USA. Ethiopia had dominated the event in the 1990s and early 2000s, had the three men with the fastest times in 2025, and in Yomif Kejelcha and Berhu Aragawi, they also boasted the fastest 2 PBs in the field. But the Americans had been improving fast. Grant Fisher won double bronze in the Olympics last year, with 10K legend Joshua Cheptegei anointing him as his successor following his final victory on the track. And Nico Young had been starting to outperform even Fisher, beating him at the US Champs and also beating some of the best Ethiopians over 5K at the Oslo Diamond League. With all this focus on the USA versus Ethiopia rivalry, few people were looking at the Europeans. But in Swede Andreas Almgren and Frenchman Jimmy Gressier, there were two serious contenders. Almgren had set the fastest 5K time in the world this year, dropping all his rivals at the Stockholm Diamond League. And while Gressier has rarely been considered one of the very best in the world, in 2025 he has been quietly building an impressive CV. He had set his 10,000 metre PB at the Olympics last year, then gone on to set PBs in every other distance from 1500 metres to the half marathon this year, ranging from an impressive 3:32 in the 3.5 lap race to 59 minutes 45 seconds to win the European Half Marathon Championships. Just 2 weeks before this race, he had also sent a final warning shot to his competitors by outkicking Fisher and Almgren to win the Diamond League 3,000 metre final. To add to the unpredictability, the weather in Tokyo reached new levels of hot. With temperatures rising to 29 degrees Celsius and humidity approaching 80%, this was going to be a race very difficult to control. Predictably, the men started out super slow, almost jogging around the first kilometre in a pedestrian 3:14, looking to conserve energy. But just as we started to worry that the race would be a jogfest, Ethiopia's Solomon Barega went off the front at just 1,500 metres in to get things moving. Now, while this might have seemed nonsensical in such hot conditions, it is actually a tactic worth trying for the East Africans. The Ethiopians are technically the strongest runners over 10,000 metres in the world, but they are not so much better than their competitors that they can just grind away on the front of the pack with the Americans and Europeans in their slipstream. If they were to do that, Fisher and the rest would likely outkick them in the end, and if they sat back all race and simply tried to kick themselves, there was no guarantee they would win either. By sending one runner off the front on his own, you make it your rivals, the Americans' responsibility to work to catch him, which should give the rest of your team an advantage come the finale. But as is so often the case with this tactic, the other East Africans weren't on the same page. The Kenyans and Ugandans should have let the Americans do the work to reel Barega in, but instead Oscar Chalimo saved them the trouble and set off in pursuit. Within a kilometre, Barega was caught, and it was back to square one for the Ethiopians. But luckily for them, Japan and then Kenya kept the race hard. Kasai and Suzuki came to the front first, determined to put on an honourable performance at their home championships, and kept things moving at 2:56 pace until the 5K mark. From there, Kiplangat and then Kurgat injected more pace, dropping a 2:45 kilometre to the 6K mark. But once again, it was an East African who stopped a gap from forming. Dan Kibet of Uganda latched on, ensuring the Kenyans couldn't escape, and before even reaching 7K, they gave up. At this point, Fisher found himself on the front, but had no interest in expending extra energy, looking around to see who would take over. And with just under 3K to go, someone did. With 6 laps to go, Andreas Almgren hit the front and started ramping things up. Almgren has a decent kick, but clearly didn't fancy his chances in a last lap burn-up with everyone still fresh, so leaned on his 5,000 metre prowess and started to turn the screw. He worked it down from a 2:53 8th kilometre to a 2:43 9th kilometre, but with just over 2 laps to go, there were still 13 men in the lead pack, looking poised to swamp him. He tried to increase the pace further, but at 600 metres to go, the Ethiopians were on the move, with Barega hitting the front once again, stretching it out as they approached the final lap. Going through the bell, the Ethiopians smelt blood, stretching their 3-man team wide across the track as they accelerated further, On the back straight, Fisher started to panic, moving very wide to try to put himself in a good position for the final 200 metres, with Nico Young also moving up. But as carnage unfolded, the men with the clearest heads were Almgren and Jimmy Gressier, who stayed tucked in, on the rail. With 200 metres to go, Kejelcha made his bid for home, accelerating into the bend. Fisher and Young tried to follow and go around him, exertion etched on their faces. Gressier stayed on the rail. As they hit the home straight and the Americans tied up, Gressier made his move, sprinting into the gap between Almgren and Aragawi and drawing level with Kejelcha, before passing the Ethiopian in the last 10 metres, roaring with delight as he crossed the line. Almost no one had given Gressier a chance in this race. He might not have had the best PB, but he was the smartest throughout, showing superb tactical nous to take a historic win for France, and the first win in this event by a non-African-born athlete since 1983. With Almgren rewarded for his bravery in the last 3 kilometres with the bronze, the unthinkable has happened. The dominant forces of 10,000 metre running had been beaten. For the first time since the 1980s, 2 Europeans would stand on the podium at the World Championships. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've enjoyed this video, please drop it a like and subscribe to my channel for more World Championship analysis coming soon. It's been a pleasure breaking this one down and looking into how the race was won.